Now, before we get right into the video, quick shouts out to the Patreons again. I'm saying for doing your thing at a high level and becoming a Patreon. Shouts out to the Patreons. But for the next video of the day, we're gonna be checking out everything you need to know about F1 cars in 2022. This should be interesting. Why? Because 2022 hasn't happened, and it's going to happen this year, because we're in 2020. Yeah, this year. And this should be fun to watch. Hopefully, you will enjoy the video. And let's hop right into the video. Video by Driver61. Link in the description for check out the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel. And let's run the video. Let's always any time. Starting now. Is it glitching? It's glitching, isn't it?
So the next era of Formula One is coming, and the cars are changing a lot. There is a lot that will affect how these things will look, drive, and perform. So let's go over them and give you our take on how they will or won't change in 2022. And say hi to Craig Scarborough, the man who really understands how these big F1 rule changes work. Happy New Year, how you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Good to see you.
Good to see you. You in your office?
I guess you could call it this, yeah.
And he's got some incredible insights for us today. Let's get into it. Now, the tyres might seem like a weird place to start, but the majority of the F1 car design is focused around getting the most grip from them as possible. So they're kind of the foundation to the whole car.
Wheels, tyres and suspension is probably in some respects like a bigger change for the engineers and drivers than the aero.
The 13-inch wheels have become 18-inch wheels, and with that the sidewall has been cut down. Previously the teams had so much sidewall that it made up the majority of the suspension travel in the car.
Gone from what is actually more like a 14.5-inch tyre to a 18-inch tyre. You've kind of lost that much of sidewall, but the tyre's gone from 660 diameter to 720. You've kind of gained another 2 of those inches back. Right. So the sidewall isn't actually as small as you would expect, so you've still got quite a big bit of sidewall to play with. All these problems haven't completely gone away, they've just been reduced by a small amount.
Now, with these 18s, they still aren't like a lowrider Caddy or something, but they have far less sidewall than before. And with that, lots of the current suspension tricks just won't work. Also, the driving style needs to change.
Big bouncy tyres to super low profile tyres on a road car, you get that more immediate steering, there's less latency on the turning, so you've got all of that. And again, some drivers might not, like that. Haven't been racing on big fat tyres all their career, or certainly been in Formula One for a long time.
This should make the car much more direct on turning, which will take some adjusting to, but probably a good thing on the whole. On top of that, the third damper system the Mercedes were using has been banned too. So the teams will have to reimagine the suspension. Then on top of that, we have spec brake ducts and covers on the wheels. So the clever rim heating and brake duct tuning won't be possible. This is where the teams could use heat from the brakes or cool air from the ducts to either heat or cool the rims, which then controls the temperature of the tyre.
When you look at the whole package, it suddenly gets really complicated. And then you throw in tyre warmer ban over the next few years as well, and it's like, whoa, all over the place.
The drivers may need to push much more on the fronts to keep them up to temperature, but it could be harder to get the core of the tyre up without this rim heating system, so the tyres could really shake things up. Then there are the new shiny aero bits we have. The new regs have brought in wheel covers and over-wheeled wing lips. Both are focused on cleaning up the airflow around the wheels. The wheels and tyres, as we know, are responsible for a loss of the dirty air, which then affects the car behind. So the wheel covers stop a lot of the outwash from the front wheels, and the fins straighten up the airflow from the front of the wheel. They also make the car a little bit more slippery.
Everyone used to use them in 2008, 2009. There is a gain to them of, a tenth or something like that. It's not a huge gain. But in terms of cleaning up the wake of the car behind, they are really quite important, which is why you see, land speed record cars or, super efficient cars have flat wheel covers.
Then one final thing, the FIA will now have temperature, pressure and vibration sensors in the wheels. This will stop the teams from running pressures below what Pirelli allowed, as it's suspected the teams were allowing the cars to run below the minimum pressure requirements, as this offers the car a little bit more grip. So who knows, this could stop the sort of tyre failures that we saw in Baku. Right, let's get to the big aero changes. First of all, starting with the floor. So look at this 2021 car. The floor is flat for the majority of the car, then has a diffuser rise at the rear of the car. And really the front wing and barge boards were there to help it work to its best. But there were strict limits on the edges of the floor. You weren't allowed anything to seal the floor. But in 2022, this all changes to a ground effect tunnel style floor, where air enters the floor section at the front and is then accelerated through these tunnels, creating the majority of the car's downforce. It also has these floor edge wings that are used to seal the floor and these fins at the front to tidy up the airflow. None of these things were allowed before, and it helps the floor create much more downforce than before. But the FIA gave and they took away. Overbody downforce has been greatly cut back, and these were the aspects of the car that were most affected by dirty air. So barge boards are gone. The front wing has been greatly simplified, and look at that rear wing. So the front wing has been changed a lot. The vortices that used to be created here are gone, and the end plates that used to deliberately create a load of outwash have also gone. Now we have this thing. And my question is, do they now focus on pure downforce rather than the job that they have now, directing air around the car?
The philosophy will kind of be the same, but because the floor is creating so much more downforce and it's much more balanced, the front wing won't need to be as loaded. But where you do load the wing is still going to be critical, because if you load it out by the end plate like Mercedes Red Bull did, you haven't got a really effective end plate anymore, and that's going to be a really inefficient way of trying to create downforce.
So, as Craig mentioned, the floor is the centrepiece of the whole system. The floor, rather than being flat, has underfloor tunnels that allow much more air to flow under the car. The shape of the floor then accelerates the air more, and thanks to fluid dynamics creates a load more downforce. But there's more to it. The edge of the floor allows better sealing, so the low pressure can't be disrupted by air flowing in from the sides.
So you're going to create lots more downforce because you've got a lot more air accelerating under the floor, and this is really different. It creates less wake compared with the old diffusers. It works better in the wake of another car compared with old diffusers, and it creates lots more downforce balance between the front and the rear.
Barge boards have been spoken about a lot for the past 10 years or so, and that's because they really matter. They steer some wake away from the rear of the car, as well as injecting some air under the floor to energise the air and squeeze out some more downforce. But why now have F1 removed them? Essentially, they have been replaced by two things: the floor edge wings sealing off the floor, and the over-wheel wingmans that manage the weight from the front tyres. Clever. And this change comes with the benefits of cleaning up the look of the car, as well as cutting down on the components that can be easily damaged, as well as littering the circuit with millions of pieces of carbon. Now, perhaps the weirdest looking bit of it all is the rear wing. I think it actually looks kind of cool.
Again, that's just about wake management, so that's all just trying not to have the big horrible vortices that you get on the damp days coming off the edge of the wing and just trying to throw all the dirty air upwards to avoid the car behind.
And before you ask, yes, they will have DRS.
So your DRS mechanism has got to be in the middle of the rear wing. So you're going to have a pod and a little linkage, and it's going to hinge just as it is now. The only reason everyone's confused is that all the show cars didn't have any of that mechanism or that, the hinge and the fish plates put in. The same with the front wing. The front wing is adjustable, but on all of these cars, the front wing's fixed. So everyone keeps asking, well, how do you adjust the front wing? And it's like, well, you're just the same as now.
Then there are the overall numbers. The cars are 38 kilograms heavier for 2022. That's to incorporate the new wheels and tyres, as well as some more safety stuff, particularly as a result of Grosjean's crash. The fuel cell is now fitted in the car completely differently. Now, heavier is never normally better in a race car, but these changes are for good reasons.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll allow heavier F1 cars. Then there is the wheelbase, which will affect 2021's longer cars more than the shorter ones.
Everyone will be shorter. The shortest cars, like the Haas and the Ferraris, will be, and Red Bulls, will be a few centimetres. The Mercedes is more like 12.5 centimetres. But I think there's some pictures going around the internet which show that the car is like a whole tyre diameter shorter than it was before, and it's not the case. It's more like a quarter of the diameter of a tyre.
12.5 centimetres for Merc. I mean, that's still it's still a lot, isn't it? Will it?
It's a big chunky car to lose suddenly.
Yeah. So packaging will be tough. You're cramming more into a smaller car, but it should make the cars more agile, which should result in some great overtaking. But the one thing that isn't changing is the engine. The rules are the same, but the teams are allowed to upgrade it once before things are frozen. So I fully expect Red Bull to counter that rocket engine of Mercedes. And there is more on that rear wing, which we covered in a previous video here, so go and check that out. Thanks very much to Craig for coming on. You should really go and follow him on Twitter @ScarbsTech, and I'll catch you in the next one.
That's the end of the video. Okay, that's the end of the video. As you can tell, we were in learning mode right there. Because a couple of those things went over the top of my head, but for the most part, I kind of understood what he was saying. And we're gonna be seeing some new cars come in. And I don't know when we get to see the newer cars. I don't know if it has come out already. You can let me know about that in the comments if you're aware of that. When are we supposed to be seeing these cars? Is there gonna be like a showcase before the race or something like that? Let me know in the comments. But yeah, the tires are gonna be bigger. The cars are gonna be heavier but shorter by a couple inches, in couple centimeters. In some cases, Mercedes 12 centimeters, because they be doing their thing at a high level every year. But it should be fun, and hopefully enjoy the video. Let me know what you think about the video in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.